Welcome back, everybody, to Rain on Your Parade with J-L Cauvin. I am J-L Cauvin, here as always with my friend, producer, life coach, partner, Mike.
Hi, everybody. Hi, JL. How you doing?
I'm good. How was your Thanksgiving?
Really fun. You know, New Jersey, it's not my favorite place to be, but for 3 days when the leaves are changed and there's a lot of food to eat, it's all right.
Cool. I moved to New Jersey 4 years ago. I'm glad that you don't like it.
Yeah. How do you like it? Real quick. I don't want to take up too much time asking you, but
that's okay. I really like it.
Right? You're a Jersey guy.
No, not at all. I can deal with that. I'd prefer the racism to be left out of youth sports and sporting arenas. I prefer if the drivers didn't treat pedestrians like, things that were in their way, ruining their lives. The cars, they stop for you in Jersey only if they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's like, no, we're going. This stop sign. What's that? Right of way? No.
Yeah.
So that's annoying. But I like the town I'm in, Bloomfield. It's peaceful. It's on the come up. A lot of new construction, and I'm a 2-mile walk from my brother's house in Montclair because he's doing better.
Nice.
But yeah, so I like Jersey. Went to Laura's brother's for Thanksgiving dinner.
Jersey also?
Glen Ridge.
Yeah.
Glen Ridge, where Tom Cruise graduated high school.
Is that right?
Yes. He moved around a lot, but he graduated high school from Glen Ridge High. And I keep trying to find his house in Glen Ridge. It's like my Graceland.
Yeah.
But the other thing I know about Glen Ridge is Glen Ridge High School. When I entered college in fall of 1997, I had a book that had been given a very good review by the New York Times Book Review. That's right. Even at 18, I was a real
voracious reader.
A voracious reader and just a cultured man.
Yeah.
Barely a man, but cultured. And it was called Our Guys. And it was about, and I this is not funny, but it was about 4 bro athletes at Glen Ridge High who sexually assaulted a mentally disabled girl. And
true story?
True story.
Oh,
and that's really all I ever still think about when I'm in Glen Ridge. Like, understandably, it's like how Newtown, Connecticut will, as long as I'm alive, will only be the Sandy Hook shooting.
Columbine, same sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, reading that book, it was a kind of book I would tell every parent to give honestly, their daughters too, but especially their sons, don't be these guys.
Yeah. The world's a horrific place, isn't it?
It is. And it's getting more horrific.
Yeah.
And we blame mostly Matt Rife at this point.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Matt Rife later in this podcast, but what I don't like to do is when other people zig, I choose to lose money. And now Matt Rife's the talk of the town. I don't need to chase the algorithm. I've been there. The listeners of this show know where I've been. You can look at my record. Okay. I'm not some Johnny come lately to the Rife isn't that good at comedy.
Yep.
I've been there. Day one, I learned about a new comedian. I watched his stuff and my critiques were pretty much broadly what people are critiquing him for now. Other than the misogyny that I support. But yeah, Thanksgiving was good. Over the weekend, I finished, and obviously when people listen to this, they'll be like, what? Thanksgiving was a while ago. Well, you know what? We use the studio when we can and we take breaks for family and food. But I finished the Matthew Perry book, his memoir, because as you can imagine, like my own fans, I only want to support an artist when they can no longer benefit from it.
Right.
So I bought his book posthumously. I loved it. It was funny. It was very raw and it didn't feel like he was hiding anything except like occasionally kept some women's names to, discreet for whatever reason, lawsuits or respect for them or both. But I really, really liked it. And I then started watching Friends.
How did you feel about Friends before you read this book and before he passed?
I only watched 2 seasons just because the time it was on. Like my parents loved Friends, because it was right after, like it was in that when must-see TV
Late
was
90s.
a real thing.
Yeah, right.
So, we liked Seinfeld. I thought Chandler's the one I could still remember. I was just like, Chandler was the funniest. And so I probably watched 2 seasons, but I'm usually not somebody who sticks with sitcoms for like the run of a sitcom. But I got what I wanted out of it. You sit with your parents, you're all enjoying Friends. And so I've always had like fond memories of it, but I was never somebody who watched nearly the whole show.
Right.
And then I was in college when it was in, I had more important things to do, like lift weights and masturbate.
Yep.
And so I started watching it again. And the first thing that struck me is like, Phoebe never got her due for how attractive she is. Lisa Kudrow, young Lisa Kudrow kind of looked like Ivanka Trump with talent.
They just, because the character is such a bird brain, that they kind of make her look like a weirdo.
Right.
The whole show.
And to me, that's what a skilled coxman would do, which is like everybody's going for Aniston and Courtney Cox. I'm making my first draft pick, Lisa Kudrow.
Yeah.
The same way I said that I would go for Khloe Kardashian before all the Kardashians, because that would have been the one with a shot.
You're on Khloe Island, I think.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
No, but there was this moment in between her, I think, 7th and 14th surgeries where she was like, good.
Yeah.
That's the ticket.
Yeah,
and she just kept going. But you don't want OJ walking her down the aisle at the wedding.
You do not. You
Yeah.
certainly do not.
Yeah. Hey, he's not gaining a son-in-law. He's losing a daughter and a son-in-law.
Oh.
So, yeah, OJ jokes. Yeah. So
Poor Nicole.
I'm like 7 episodes in. And Ron.
And
Wow.
the
Okay.
waiter.
Didn't realize we were doing the anti-Semitism on this and forgetting Ron Goldman. Of all times to be forgetting Ron Goldman.
I know.
Wow. All right. Well, free Palestine producer over there. But I started watching it and it is funny, but I also know it's the first season. And whenever I see people hating on Friends, they kind of do the thing like, this is not funny. I'm like, what are you, halfway through the pilot? The pilot wasn't that great if you're looking back on it. But that's not the way TV, you do the pilot, then you do the first season if the pilot gets approved, and then you keep getting better and better.
It's true. Most sitcoms that are really good don't get really good until, I don't think Seinfeld's good until season 5.
Oh, wow.
4, maybe.
Yeah.
Like right around that, when they did that Chinese restaurant episode, that was like when they started finding their groove, where it was like, this show
season
hilarious.
1 was definitely not
good.
that good.
Yeah.
But people and producers used to be patient with art and patient with the process.
Right.
So, and now I think you see the reverse, which is like, what a pilot. And it's like by episode 9, you're like, this fell apart.
Yeah, right.
So I'm going to go through Friends. That's because it's good because it's 22 minutes a pop. So it's a good like fill-in show. I'm in no hurry to get through it, but I do want to watch it now with sort of a reflective eye and also just to see it again, like see what I didn't see. So that'll be fun. But the book is it's very good. It's very reflective. It reminded me of like a podcast episode before you were my producer.
Oh, one of yours?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's a lot of monologuing.
Yeah.
And, directionless going here, going there.
Technically he has direction. Okay. It's me with direction. Like, what is this chapter going to be hilarious or harrowing? Cool. But I liked it. It was like a 4-day read for me.
Yeah.
So now I'm reading about Mitt Romney. But for all books and other things that I put behind the paywall, if you like this show, if you like me, or if you won the lottery, any one of those 3 things, join the Patreon, patreon.com/J-L Cauvin. A lot of good stuff there. And that's it. That's a good way to, this show is free, which I hear lots of people like. They both like the show, and more importantly, they like that it's free.
Don't we all?
But, to those super fans, anyway, that's it. Are you watching any TV these days, specifically on Showtime, specifically on Paramount Plus, more specifically about the Red Scare?
No, but I think I have seen the promo for the show that you're talking about, and it does look interesting. And I like some of the actors in it, specifically
Matt, face of the gods, Bomer.
Yes.
Okay, guys, I want to talk about something that I was talking last night because we were going through. I'm basically almost done with shows that I watch by myself.
Yeah.
Because I wake up early. I work from home, also known as unemployed right now. And so I have a lot more time to get through the shows that I like that Laura doesn't really care to watch.
Yeah.
But now we're on to like the shows that we both want to watch. So I said, which would you rather watch? This, what is it called? The Curse, which I really want to watch.
Yes. Nathan Fielder
and Emma Stone,
Mm-hmm.
which I hear is really good and unique.
Mm-hmm.
Or the show that we're going to talk about, Fellow Travelers, which is about basically the Red Scare, but also the Lavender Scare, which is like in the 50s, they were going after Joseph McCarthy and Roy Cohn were going after suspected communists. But there was a side journey of also trying to root out, embarrass, destroy closeted gay men and women. And because they believed that, unlike communism, which they just thought was de facto, you're against this country, it was more like, well, if you're gay, you could be compromised. You could be blackmailed into, if you're lucky, you can get blackmailed if you're gay.
Back then.
So you kind of couch it, not in a total, even though there's plenty of homophobia now.
Right.
So you can imagine, but it was also, well, if you get caught, you're married or you're this, or living a double life, you could be exploited, which is true, but it wouldn't be an issue if people could have just lived how they want to live. But it was a nice excuse to
fuck somebody's
revenge
life
on homophobic based revenge, but it was a nice actually we're doing this for patriotism.
Yes.
So I said, well, this seems interesting, both from a historical perspective, and it's gotten really good reviews. But they did say the sex was very graphic.
Yes. Sex men.
Yeah, like we're talking Borat without any black bars.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Or Bruno.
A lot of gay sex with Bruno, yeah.
Bruno, groundbreaking movie. Bruno.
Underrated.
I love Bruno.
Yeah, me too.
I
thought that was his best character.
Yes!
I always did. On the show, too. Ali G show, I always thought Bruno was the funniest character.
Throw your shoulders back. This is a fashion show, not a slave auction. It's incredible. Like, I love Bruno.
Yeah.
I remember when that movie started, the house music comes up, and I remember discussing this with another comic years ago. I started laughing at the dance before it even started. I was like, I know what he's doing. It's going to be some explosive house music.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing as the universal sign is coming up. But anyway, so they delivered. The sex was very
erotic.
I felt like I was there.
Okay.
I was like, am I getting fucked in the ass? This is very intimate and intense.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of sex, just in case you're wondering, would you mind? No. If I saw straight people having sex in a movie, I'd be like, Jesus, this is a lot. I mean, not that I'm against it or wouldn't like to be one of the participants, but this is a lot.
Yeah.
But okay, it's and maybe that's that restrained, closeted, you're portraying it because they're they can only get it at certain times. It's like this released animal instinct, sort of.
It's a directorial choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will say this, the show Rap Shit, sidebar, Rap Shit on Max, which I'm enjoying. It's an Issa Rae show. Issa Rae, low key, puts her intimacy coordinators to work.
That's such a funny way to put it.
They earn their paychecks.
Yeah.
Because it's you'll watch Rap Shit or some episodes of Insecure and be like, so did they fuck for 8 seconds?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what, if I'm that, whatever sock or restraint or flesh-colored protective barrier, does it matter? I mean, yes, of course it matters if you're not penetrating the person, but it's you're definitely slapping this woman's bare ass with your dick.
Yeah.
You're sucking that breast. There's no dental dam stopping you from getting that in your mouth. So Insecure and Rap Shit have some scenes where you're like, wow, that is, that's, you might as well just fuck.
Yeah.
So, just 15 seconds. When she says cut, you pull out.
Yeah.
Because then that's assault.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're given 12 pumps for this take. And Fellow Travelers takes it to a new level. And I know in an age of porn, I think we've also become more accepting and able to tolerate sort of intense sex scenes in film.
Sure, but I don't think that they do them much anymore. I think I haven't really seen Insecure, and obviously I haven't seen this, but in movies, I think movies are very sexually sterile.
Well, Marvel characters don't fuck.
Well, sure, neither does The Rock, neither does Ryan Reynolds. Neither does.
Yeah, why is the Rock and Ryan Reynolds are on that like Tom Cruise shit.
Dude,
but it's
The
like,
Rock.
But you guys are like out in the open straight.
Dude, there like, think of every Rock movie that you might have ever seen. He never is sexual with anybody ever.
I wonder why. I wonder what business or personal choice that is in terms of like.
There's I want to shout out Patrick H. Willems. He makes film essays on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
They're great, very high quality and high level. He's a very smart guy. He literally just did a whole episode about The Rock and Ryan Reynolds, and basically how they're actors who are just corporate brands.
Right.
Like The Rock's whole thing is like he's basically using every thing that he's making as a mini platform to like potentially maybe actually run for president. Whether that's actually going to happen or not, he's thinking that way, essentially. That he needs to be like, he needs to have a Q rating with everybody,
right,
as opposed to make like interesting acting decisions, which is something that like a Gosling or somebody like that, or, you know, or Oscar Isaac or somebody,
right,
that's kind of like what leads their decisions, right. You know?
Yeah. Well, so the point of bringing up Fellow Travelers is not to just describe graphic gay sex scenes. Though on Patreon, that's what we're doing.
Right.
It's what struck me about this movie is Matt Bomer. Okay. This guy, if you don't know Matt Bomer, one of the most handsome people I've ever seen.
Yes.
Like, he looks like you took the best parts of John Hamm, like that lantern jaw, that serious, that gravitas, that serious handsomeness, and then took all the best parts of Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
And said, now we've got a handsome guy.
But the other thing is also his features are softer.
Yeah.
He's not very gruff. So it kind of makes him look chiseled. Perfect. Yes.
But he's ripped in the show. And I'm like, and part of me is like, you're not that committed to the craft because you're 2010s gay ripped. 1950s congressional aide ripped was definitely not 20, but you wouldn't allow your trainer to just give you a few more days off. So it was a little more realistic. And his lover in the movie is even funnier because he's like the nerdy, awkward one. He's like, I've got glasses and I'm coming into my own as a gay man. Jacked.
Yeah.
Jacked. I'm like, I think he's a little more he might be more jacked than Matt Bomer.
Yeah.
But it's not about the other guy. It's about Matt Bomer.
Yes.
The thing that came to mind yesterday, because I'm a left of center guy, but I like to look at, are we living our values or talking our values?
Yes.
And Matt Bomer should be an A-list megastar. Now, maybe he doesn't want that. We have to couch this in, he might be very content with his very handsome, successful career.
Yes.
Okay? So this is not, if he has made these choices, great. But I think a guy with his talent, he's a clearly very talented actor and I don't know if I mentioned this, extremely handsome.
Right.
Okay, like really handsome.
Yes.
Throughout the years of Righteous Prick, the former, the prince to this show's androgynous symbol.
Yeah.
I used to have a little bit, I had a rotating sort of man crush sort of thing. I'd go through phases. Joseph Gordon-Levitt for a brief time.
Interesting.
Just because it
doesn't seem like your type, if I'm being honest.
No, but the closeted top in me wants a talented
little
twink.
Guy? Yeah.
Have I offended my?
I think we're far beyond.
Okay, good.
Just keep digging.
But Henry Cavill had the longest run.
Sure.
Of just like, Jesus Christ. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
And now I think it might be Matt Bomer. And Boner. And sorry, I had to do a pun, but it was right there.
This one was fine.
You think he calls it that at like sex parties? Who's ready for a Bomer boner? Cue up the Gaga. Or does he go Bomer?
Yeah.
Bomer boner. Bomer. Okay. Gaga, give me one more album with some bad romance type tracks. Mm. Fuck the jazz.
Yeah.
Okay. Just stop. Give me I don't get it.
But Matt Bomer.
Anyway, Matt Bomer. Why isn't he a bigger star? That was the big question I was thinking. Like, he's got it all. He works. He's talented. I mentioned he's handsome. So yes. I thought to myself, I was like, where are the gay leading men in Hollywood?
Mm-hmm.
And when I say leading men, I don't mean like been nominated for 3 Emmys I'm talking name all the big time leading men you can think of. How many of them are out and gay?
Really, the only one that I can think of, and I don't know that he's A-list anymore, but the first name that comes to mind is Neil Patrick Harris.
And we looked at a list last night because Laura was like, there's got to be some. And I was like, and Neil Patrick Harris fits into, he was an A-lister, a low TV A-lister, but he was more of the Ryan Seacrest type A-lister, whereas he's hosting shows. He's in this show.
No, but How I Met Your, even though I don't like How I Met Your Mother, I don't think it was a good show. Though.
Ensemble cast.
But he was like I think he was the runaway. That like put him into that.
But what did he do? And then my question to you is, then name the thing that he then did that was like, boom.
Right. Well, that's when he went and did all the Seacrest stuff. And
sure, but he was like
Broadway
supporting actor in Gone Girl.
Right.
So there was not, and that's a good example because that's the example she came up with. And I was like, but when I mentioned to you, now I'm going to mention to you off the top of my head, 10 leading men, and you'll see that he is anywhere close to the people I'm about to name.
No, not at all.
Yeah, right. You get it. Like,
frankly, Bomer is also, in my opinion, a better actor than Neil Patrick Harris is.
Sure.
Bomer's done things where you don't think, wow, I'm watching Matt Bomer.
Right.
Whereas like it's kind of hard to not see.
It's hard not to see that face.
Yeah, right. But it's hard to not see. I don't know that Neil Patrick Harris, whether he's not taken them or not been given the chance a lot, he hasn't displayed a lot of range.
Right.
Whereas Bomer has tried a lot of the things that I like Bomer in. Like I said, Doom Patrol, they have his face covered.
My Dreams.
All right, your fantasies. But anyway, go ahead.
No, so that was my point, is that Hollywood, very liberal.
Right.
Gay rights in this country. Yes, you can point to me setbacks and things Trump or DeSantis have done. But in general, we are in a historically very good time. Things can always get better. Things need to get better in certain ways, of course. But we are in a gay marriage legal.
Yeah.
Like all sorts of things. Supreme Court notwithstanding what they try to do with like adoption and things like that.
Yeah.
But this is like one of those examples. It's kind of almost like a NIMBY thing where it's like liberals love to say, we should do this. Don't let them move into don't build a shelter near my home. Don't build a low income housing near me. Don't open the schools to poor kids to be, but like, this is kind of like, feels like Hollywood's like NIMBYism in a way where it's like, yeah, it's 2023 and we still don't have an out gay A-list leading man. And people can comment, of course, if somebody comes to mind, but I'm saying out. You can make your Hugh Jackman, Will Smith, Tom Cruise jokes.
Yeah.
None of them are out.
Right.
And Hugh Jackman has a book coming out where he says like he got divorced. He's long been rumored to be, whether it's gay, bisexual, something.
Yeah.
But what I would say to you is, if he's divorced and he's done playing Wolverine and he's now into his 50s, watch where his
career. I don't know that he's done playing Wolverine.
I mean, no, he may be doing like another one, but I'm saying this would be an interesting case, but he's also at the end of his
action run
where he could, of course, go into he could do musicals, of course.
Sure.
He could do character work and things like that, or independent film. But it would be interesting to be like, oh, is he already conceding like my action A-list run is over? I can be me. If that's and I'm just reporting like internet rumors.
Yeah.
But think about any actor and it's like, no, I don't know how far you'd have to get down the list to get an out male actor. And Bomer just brought that to my mind where I was like, this guy should be,
well, all right. So I think the question starts with, because he is a celebrity.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think he is, at this point, an A-list celebrity. But I agree, if he was the lead in a movie, he probably doesn't open a movie the way that Tom Cruise or any of these other guys that you mentioned could. So I think the question really comes down to, why would he not be able to open a movie with major success. And I think that also has to do with the market in which movies are sort of sold now. What makes a movie star in 2023, about to be 2024?
Sure.
And who are the A-list people that could open a movie and be big time celebs? Why? Like,
I'm going to give you an example of a guy who I put as like not even poor man's, because I'm a fan of this guy and he's also good. James Marsden.
Okay.
James Marsden
they have similar careers.
And that's the thing. James Marsden, good looking guy.
Great looking guy.
Not Matt Bomer, good looking. But James Marsden is
I don't know.
Now,
but he's close though. He's really handsome, man.
No, of course.
You know?
And he's done comedy. I'm one of the few people who I love Anchorman 2.
Yeah.
People shit on that. That is a prescient film. It's mocking our current media. Like, he's really funny in that. He does family. He did the Sonic the Hedgehog. He took that paycheck. Right. He's fine. He's done it. Done it. He was in X-Men.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys where I go, you say similar careers. I say no. I say Bomer has not had the same career in terms of maybe he's turned down the franchises and things. Like I said, there is a lot of agency in here for Matt Bomer to be like, I chose to do the work and to do more interesting projects. I didn't want to be X, Y, or Z. Possible.
So this
certainly possible.
So here's a question.
But then I would say, but where are the other, like then when Matt Bomer to me is the most obvious, but after Matt Bomer, who's the next out gay actor up? And the only reason I bring this up is this is a podcast. It was a curious topic, I thought, and something that maybe could get people engaging or we could have a conversation about.
Great.
But it is one of those things where I say Hollywood is the liberal capital, the boogeyman of like liberal, no values. I'm saying that in quotes of progressive hedonism. And yet still the market, are you telling me the market cannot bear a guy with mega A-list looks? A-list talent. He's an indie guy. Now, if he's an indie guy by choice, good for him. Glad he can make the choices. But then I would say, but there is no other person ready in the wings to take this role, to become whether it's a George Clooney or a Chris Evans or a Chris Hemsworth or a Paul Rudd or like any number of genres, and it's not there. And I think that's very curious.
I think some of it comes down to the parts that he would I think male audiences to accept him as like a badass kind of leading character. I mean, I like him. I think I probably could. I think he's a good enough actor. But so this is a great example. He is in the DC cinematic animated universe, the new one that they've kind of just started. He's the voice of the Flash. So I think that there were these rumors that like anybody that voiced the character was also going to be, they were going to like be the voice of the character and then they'd be the on-screen version of that. So like if he was the Flash in the new version of the DC, like if he was the Flash in the Justice League, could you buy it? Would you be all right with it? Like, or do you think that
too handsome?
He kind of, he's probably swimmer,
he's Superman.
Superman.
Yeah, he's Superman or Batman. Right. Like there are certain guys where
you buy him as Batman though? If you watched him on screen, you were like, that's Bruce Wayne.
Seems like it might be short. But they have
I don't think he's short.
They have short kings now, I'm hearing. Right. I never have to worry about that short king. Okay, little guy. But they've got but he looks short. But it might be because he's just sculpted.
Yeah, right.
But he short or tall, I could see, I mean, he's easily a Batman or a Superman. And then wouldn't that be an interesting question? Because they talk about Ta-Nehisi Coates, I think, was trying to write a Superman for like Michael B. Jordan.
Yes.
And that would be its own path-breaking thing, of course. But I'm like, but what if Superman was gay? Not even the character, just the actor playing him.
It'd be interesting because actually Superman is not all that sexual of a character.
Right.
I think of all that, not that most superhero characters are, but like I don't know, Downey playing Iron Man, he had a sexuality to him. I think he was like
Laura, big fan of Iron Man.
I'm
like, so you like that guy's banter, but when I banter, it's eye rolls and can we watch the show? Okay, that's what you want to do. You don't like it when I talk sarcastic?
You want a drink? I'm going to have one. It's sort of an Earth's Mightiest Heroes type thing. But no, yeah, I think I agree. I mean, maybe he could be Superman, and because Superman is a Boy Scout, there's not really I guess he's got the thing with Lois Lane, but it's not like you ever watch Superman with Lois Lane and think like they're gonna fuck. He's like saving her, and
they're gonna gently kiss,
right?
And he's gonna continue being a role model for school children,
right? So honestly, it could work.
New movie idea, just passionately gay Superman. Larry Lane is the co-reporter, and they fuck on the desk after he saves
Superman
the world.
fucks Green Lantern and kills him.
And that's the thing.
Super cum.
I was thinking also like of a show like The Boys.
Yes.
Where I'm like, I don't know Anthony Starr. I think Anthony's. Do you watch The Boys?
He plays Homelander, right?
Yes.
That guy? Yeah. I've seen the first like season and a half. I have to pick it up.
I think Anthony Starr should be nominated for a fucking Emmy.
It's great. Yeah.
I mean,
it's a great
I'm
performance.
Terrified of him. Terrified. And it works because he's handsome.
Yeah.
It augments the terror I feel.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if he was ugly, I would not be as scared.
Right.
And like, and he's a guy where I go, I wonder what his deal is.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, literally, because I'm racking my brain for like, well, whose sexuality I don't know, who's kind of an A-lister or a big star. Sure. And then the question is, it's nobody's business. But then it's like, if he were gay, why isn't it out?
Yeah.
And it's just, and Best Arms, by the way, while I'm just going through the homoerotic segment of the show, The Deep, the guy who plays The Deep, I'd kill somebody to have his arms.
I don't think I know the character.
The fish character.
Oh, that's
he's from like
Chase
Supernatural or Vampire Diaries. He's from one of like the CW
I think he's on Gossip
shows.
Girl.
Also that?
I think so.
That's
Yeah.
maybe that's it.
Yeah, another handsome guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Matt Bomer though.
No. Few are.
But I don't know. And this is one of those that we're going to take a break in a minute.
Well, the only thing I wanted to
please
bring up with Bomer was like thinking about, because it's a great point, JL. I never really think about it, but I do love Matt Bomer. I think he's such a talented actor and handsome guy.
I am straight in the sheets, but a strong gay ally in the streets.
Yes, likewise. But Bomer, so I first came to him because my mom loved Suits. Is it Suits?
No, he was on White Collar.
That's it, White Collar. Yeah. So I knew it was one of those USA
I thought
shows.
they were the same. I was just like,
it's all the same shit.
I was like, no. Suits is the one with the so looking guys.
Yeah,
White Collar is the one with the super handsome guy.
Yeah. So that was where I kind of came to Bomer, and then like I knew who he was because my mom was such a big fan.
Right.
And then like I think he did something on Glee, and he kind of like he kind of, as an out gay guy, I think kind of like channeled part of his career in that direction. But one of the first times I watched a movie and he popped up and I was like, oh, it's Matt Bomer. I love that guy. Was The Nice Guys, which was Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. And it was a Shane Black movie. I thought that movie was fantastic.
I watched it because it got such great reviews. I think that's a movie I'm going to have to do a rewatch of, because I was just kind of like, it's okay. But it seems like critics love that movie, and it's like, that's a good cast, obviously.
It's just very well written. It's like classic Shane Black, ties everything up perfectly with a bow.
What else did Shane Black do? He's the guy
Weapons.
He was the guy who was in like Predator, right?
Yeah.
He was in, and then he became a screenwriter.
He was a screenwriter, I think, before Predator.
Oh, okay.
And then he was just in Predator, and they wanted him. They cast him in Predator because they wanted him to do rewrites. And he was like, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be in this movie." Anyway, but it's a great movie. Bomer shows up and he is a hitman in the third act of the movie. And I think he works in that there's no inkling of him being gay. You don't think about his sexuality,
right?
Because he's just this kind of sterile, scary guy, like killing machine. And I think in situations like it works perfectly. You have this guy that when you look at him, the point of the character is you would look at him and not be scared. You'd look at him and think, oh, this guy is like a handsome businessman or whatever, and very charming or whatever.
And then
he's like a fucking killer, you know? And I think in roles like that, it
could
works.
Probably kill me. Like if I met him, I'd just be like, oh man, this is so cool. I'm talking to this guy. Look at how Do I look more handsome or worse in his glow?
You look down, you have a knife in your stomach.
And I'm dying. I'm like, It's like staring off into the sunset as I die.
But it's a great performance by him. And I think it really works because you're not there. He's not like linked to a woman or a man in he's just kind of there. And he's this like, ambiguous killer.
Right.
And it works. And he just puts his acting on display and he does a great job. So I think roles like that. And listen, man, he's a good actor. He takes on roles that are challenging. He doesn't just like, I'm handsome, I'm here.
Exactly. And like I said, if this is, I'm only using him as like kind of one of the most obvious examples. But if the career path he is choosing for himself, then that's great.
Yeah.
That he's just able to do whatever he wants and he's choosing this. But I would say in the aggregate, Hollywood is not choosing. Like,
agreed.
Hollywood clearly is choosing a path of you got to be asexual at best to be a true leading man in 2023.
Dude, because it doesn't work when they try to, and it is, you're right, it sucks when it's like this, but like
if he got cast as Superman, let's say hypothetically, new Superman map, I'd be like, perfect choice. Like,
I think I would too. Right. I gotta be honest. I think I would
us.
Too. Yeah.
But once people do their research, there'd be plenty of people like, it doesn't matter or don't care. But if it came out that you'd have a lot of jokes, but also a lot of great. Now, it's like, Superman isn't gay.
Right.
The character is not gay if that's what you're worried about. The actor is.
You just have an awesome, handsome actor.
But would that still be for plenty of people a woke agenda now? And that's what, and I wonder, is Hollywood behind, oddly enough, in this sort of mindset? And maybe they're not, because I think our country is still backwards in so many pockets.
Yeah.
But I'm not even talking about Mississippi Republicans not liking it. I'm talking about what's Hollywood doing? Because it seems like we talk like it's 2023. And I'm like, right, it's 2023. I'm not telling you who should be the star or who needs to be out or who. It's just odd to me that there are none.
Right.
Period. Doesn't matter who it is.
Great point, dude.
And Matt Bomer, if you listen to the show, you're my vote for,
leading man. You're our leading man, Matt Bomer.
You're our leading man. So we're going to take a quick break for the sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to talk hockey. Huh.
Yeah.
Enjoy the sponsors. Welcome back, everybody, to Rain on Your Parade. How was your break, Mike?
Oh, just fantastic.
Yeah, well, the bathroom doesn't smell fantastic. But I wanted to talk. The first topic of this show was something that just came to me last night. Sometimes you're struck by a bolt of lightning, and that bolt of lightning was obviously Matt Bomer's handsomeness.
Yes.
But the real topic I want to discuss, and it doesn't have to be a super long one, but was hockey.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've talked really about sports. We've talked about sports tangentially, I think, here, but not as like a focus. And over the last couple of years, I've just gotten into hockey. I always liked hockey video games.
Me too.
And I would watch the occasional playoff hockey game or Olympic hockey and go, boy, oh boy, this is great. Yeah. Next year, I got to get into it.
Yes.
And then it would be a year or 4 years later, I go, oh man, I got to get into hockey again.
Yeah.
And, obviously in 94 as a New Yorker, my uncle was a long-suffering Rangers fan. When they won, he got calls from like high school buddies that he hadn't spoken to in 30 years. That was like
celebrating?
Yes.
Wow.
Because that was like, he loved football, baseball, but hockey, I think hockey was kind of his favorite sport.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very aware of what was going on in 94 hockey. I still have like a 94 Stanley Cup champions hat. But the point is, hockey, I've been to 3 games in the last 2 years. I think the Garden is a beautiful place to see hockey. Prudential Center, not so much in Jersey.
Yeah.
The Garden like destroys it in terms of just how good
Prudential
it looks.
Center is very bland.
Very bland. It feels unfinished.
Yes.
It's weird. It's like, are they ever going to finish The Rock?
Right.
Whereas the Garden, they did all these renovations and it's really nice.
Yes.
And hockey is the cliche, which is true, amazing sport to watch live. It is.
The best sport to watch
it
live,
is.
in my opinion.
It's a cliche, but it's also very true.
Yes.
So Laura and I started going, we kept saying like, we're going to go to some hockey games. So we went to one last season and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yep.
I see a back row of like 8 dudes, white dudes, and they're like late 50s. And I'm like, please don't say anything. Please don't say anything. And they didn't. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
What a great experience.
But you are in the heart of a Trump rally usually at the hockey games.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because it is a great sport. I do know black hockey fans, but they are very rare.
Yeah.
And
as are black hockey players.
Right.
They exist.
Right. Which that's also kind of it's like, I didn't think I'd be the Jackie Robinson of the Rangers in 2022.
Yeah, right.
Kind of a situation.
Yep.
But it's an amazing sport. I'm in awe of it. The way I'm in awe of great athletes, like anybody playing professional hockey. You don't have to be the best. You could be the worst player on the ice. I'm like, you're skating, you're getting hit.
Yeah.
You're trying to shoot a puck behind a world-class goalie where you have like this much time
and you
this
might
much space.
die at any moment.
Yeah, it is.
You know?
It is a beautiful sport. It is a chaotic sport, but it's an incredible sport.
Yeah.
And I'm just learning, like we now start to watch, we've made a conscious effort to like watch Ranger games. Cause I'm like, well, ever since I lost my job, I think the MSG that comes included with our cable package is the better choice than $250 seats. It's really expensive.
Yeah.
But it's fun to watch on TV, and I'm finally starting to like acclimate myself to all the names. I know this guy Capo Caca. I like his name. He just got injured. Capo Caca. What a great name.
Yep.
Panarin, which I want to make a T-shirt that says Panarin bread, and it's just the logo, but I can't sell them because I'd be violating multiple trademarks and
Panera. It'd be a lot.
But the point is, we've been watching it, and it's made me think over the last year or two, what the fuck happened to hockey in this country?
Yeah.
Because it has been a total collapse. And I'm talking to you, Gary Bettman. It's been on your watch, Commissioner. I think the big move they made, and my point is overarching theme of this next segment. Hockey went from solidly locked in at number 4 of like a big 4. Yes, they might have been the Andy Murray to football's Djokovic or Federer.
Yeah.
Nadal, you get the analogy.
Sure do.
They may have been the Andy Murray, but they were still welcome in the clubhouse. And they still got to be part of the big 4, even if it was like, you're 4th. You know that, right? But I could name so many players without even watching hockey. There were NHL guys on cover of sports magazines all the time. They were in commercials. The video games were like the way NBA 2K is now, or Madden. NHL on Sega Genesis was at the same level, if not, at the very same level as Madden. So what the fuck happened to hockey that it all collapsed? The way this year, my comedy and legal careers both collapsed at the same time. It was a real 9/11 for me personally.
Yeah.
It was like, legal career is going down. And then next thing you know, here comes the comedy. Anyway, that was inappropriate and insensitive. Never forget that 2023, my shoulder and my 2 careers were ruined. Anyway, Mike hates that talk. We're talking hockey. But it has been an across the board collapse for the sport, in my opinion. They seem to have been, I would say they are in danger of becoming the 6th sport in this country.
What would be?
Well, obviously football, basketball, baseball are ahead. Soccer is, in 15 years, soccer is going to be, if it's not already, it will be, for both the talent level, the money that's being pumped into it in this country, the safety level of it compared to a football, because I think anybody who loves soccer can't deny that football's health issues have been a good thing for soccer growth in this country. And then MMA. I'm not an MMA guy.
Sure. If you count MMA, then
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and now MMA.
MMA is already more popular.
Right. And it's
NHL.
like, and you're like, NHL, first of all, you might as well get rid of fighting then. Because if these animals have MMA to go fucking ape shit at, then why keep fighting in hockey?
Yeah.
You might broaden the sport if you get rid of fighting.
Okay.
Maybe.
I'm hearing your point.
But I'm saying,
I have a rebuttal, but
no,
I'm saving it.
No, and many of the animals that go to the games, they go there for fights. Right. I know it. But maybe MMA is now taking that need away. Why go to a $250 hockey game when I can see for For $50, I can see two men try to murder each other.
Yeah.
None of this pussy referee breaking it up until one of them has brain damage.
What referee?
Yeah. Okay, he's dead. He's dead. Get off. He's dead. He's dead. Good job, ref.
Right.
Were you in Rocky IV, ref? Were you the one stopping the Apollo Creed fight?
Yeah.
So, but hockey is still an amazing sport. But my main point is across the board. First, I think the big mistake they made is in the early 2000s or late in the early 2000s. I think they thought they didn't need ESPN.
Yes.
They went to fucking Versus.
Yes.
And it was like they ceased to exist.
Why? I don't know. Was that their decision? That was post lockout, right? Did ESPN not want them?
No. I think
that fucked them for sure.
Yes. I think ESPN was probably knew they were the only game in town. And hockey was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a French accent, not a Canadian accent, but you get it.
We will go to Versailles.
We will go to Versailles. People will follow hockey.
Yeah.
And they didn't. You couldn't find, I didn't know where Versus was for like a year or two. I would accidentally be like, what the fuck is this?
Yes.
There's hockey on this weird channel.
Yes.
Then they went to NBC Sports, which is really only there for the Olympics as far as I'm concerned.
And Notre Dame football.
I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, maybe.
Well, it's about time. No offense to Notre Dame as a nice Catholic. I know they're the official like Catholic college of Catholic Republicans.
Yes.
But off the national team. It's about time. It's about damn time, as Lizzo said. And so they fucked up their TV bag. They thought they were bigger than ESPN. They were not. Then there's the video game component. I think the promotion of the video game, like video games were what made me more aware of hockey and know the people and know just the game. And the last thing I'll say, because if you say they still come out with NHL games, but you don't see any commercials for them.
I'm itching to go. So
no, please. Well, no, I have more points, but please go.
Well, actually, so the NHL, the video game part is actually, so maybe there might not be as many television commercials for it, but the gaming community, they're not really on. It's not as important to get them on TV as it is to get them on YouTube.
Well, say that to Matt Bomer, who is my favorite member of the gaming community. All right. He needs to be on TV more.
That pun had to make it in. But that NHL game, the NHL game is widely considered one of the best sports games.
Oh, it is
by like currently, yeah. But so it like 2K has the popularity.
Yeah. Madden has the most famous. But
I think the NHL games by like sports gamers, is considered better than like Madden and the show.
Agreed.
You know,
I've always liked the hockey games the best, and I like them for so many reasons. The gameplay. The time.
So much fun.
And the time.
Yeah,
it's like,
quick.
I can get through an NHL season in 2 months.
Yes.
Not MLB The Show where I'm falling behind the regular season.
Yes.
Like, I don't have 4 hours
can't even keep up.
to play one baseball game today. What the fuck?
Yeah. I know.
No, but that's my point. You've made the point on video games that I would make that fits the broader narrative of the NHL, which is, sports gamers like the hockey game.
Yes.
I'm not a sports gamer.
Right.
I may buy a sports game. I'm a casual fan who I want to have the games I like, but you better make me aware and you better make it fun for me. And the NHL similarly, I think has become sort of in this weird way, content with just like, well, we sell out most of our arenas. The playoffs are great. Our players don't seem unhappy. Yay.
Yeah, well, all right. So there's a few things that I think that all of your points are right. I think the ESPN thing is the biggest. The fact that you couldn't find hockey on TV for like 6 years, definitely was bad for it. Now, here's another question that I was asking when you were ranking the list of sports that hockey might be sixth. Is hockey less popular than baseball at this point?
Yes.
You think so?
The only reason is the size of baseball.
Yeah.
In my circle, it's not more popular with me.
Yeah.
But it's just so big. It's definitely not as popular as it used to be, but it's so big still that like you have 30 stadiums, many of them sell out.
Yeah.
People watch the World Series, not in any big numbers, not like they used to, but I think it's sheer numbers. Well, it's not more popular based on like where it used to be. It's actually probably had a much bigger decline, But I think in sheer numbers, I think baseball is still just, if you tallied up fans, it's still more popular.
Here's the rub with the NHL, though, which is what sets it apart from the MLB, is that half of the league is in Canada. And they have a market share of Canada that I would think probably almost makes up for the market share that they don't have in the US. So baseball specifically is it's big in the other countries. Yeah. It's big in Japan. It's big in the Latin American countries. But that's not a huge contribution to Major League Baseball other than a scouting pipeline.
Right.
Where they're taking the players. There's no MLB team in Japan the way there's an MLB team, an NHL team in Winnipeg and Ottawa and all of these places where they really fucking care about hockey.
Right.
You know?
But I think, okay, so what I would say to that is, that then probably hasn't changed.
Yes.
Like, in other words, if it was popular, if they were fucking popular in the 80s, they're popular today. But there's unquestionably a diminished growth in the United States. So the overall engagement, and I can only speak as an American who's curious about why it's dipped here.
Right.
And because I'm sure it's always been popular in Canada. So I whether it's gone up, I doubt it. It's probably the same.
Yeah.
But in America, it's, and the other thing on top of all this is, other than Wayne Gretzky doing MGM, and it's a very good joke on my special Tall Boy. Mm-hmm. Can I do it for you?
Why not?
I said,
we're here.
I'm on the train the other day and I see a sign for MGM sports betting and I got Barry Manilow selling sports betting. So what the hell's Barry Manilow doing selling sports betting? And I look closer, Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
It's Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
So him, and I saw one with Connor McDavid.
Yes.
Now Connor McDavid
is the new Gretzky.
But I'm like, who are you?
Right.
Like, I've heard of you because
he plays in Canada.
But that's the thing. Wayne Gretzky played in Edmonton. He won 4 Stanley Cups in Edmonton. I know who the fuck Wayne Gretzky was when I was 7 years old.
Yes, but then he played in LA.
No, but that was a big story because it was like LA just got Wayne Gretzky. Yes. It wasn't like, oh, who's this Wayne Gretzky fellow I've never heard of?
Right.
Whereas, and my thing with that is, and I think this is a league-wide problem as well, where are the commercials? Where are the endorsements? How are you selling your athletes?
They don't market these guys at all. And I think that part of that is
I watched a Ranger game and I didn't see any brand commercials. I saw a fucking car dealership commercial. I didn't see one ad thing. And I'm gonna continue the Matt Bomer theme here. There's a lot of the hockey player look. Sure, the old look of the gap tooth dude.
The mullet.
A lot of these motherfuckers look like rock stars.
Girls
in a
love
good way.
Play, yes.
In a good way.
They're very handsome.
Flowing hair, jacked. Like, there's a lot of decent looking. I think some of it is
jacked but lean.
Right. Yeah. Some of them. And some of them just fucking jack, punch you in the face if I get too drunk.
Sure. Okay.
Matt Rife. It's so I'm looking at these guys sometimes after games and I'm like, why isn't this guy Henrik Lundqvist is a perfect example. My uncle, handsome. Before he passed, was always like, why isn't Lundqvist in any commercials?
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, and then I saw women tweeting during like the Olympics or something, where more people were seeing it. Many women that I never knew hockey existed were like, who's this Henrik dude?
Yes.
And so
because he wears a mask.
No, of course. But people know Tom Brady's handsome.
Yeah, but the NFL is just so much.
Of course, but I'm saying, I knew what Mario Lemieux looked like. I knew what Brett Hull looked like. Yeah. I knew what Jeremy Roenick looked like.
Yeah.
I knew what Wayne Gretzky looked like.
Messier.
Yeah. I knew what these people looked like. And I was a teenager who didn't really care about hockey.
Yeah.
That's the key. The key is not the way to grow. And maybe this goes to a broader, maybe sometimes it's good for people not to be obsessed with growth because we're kind of in the stock market and all that. There's a high obsession with growth.
Yeah.
And maybe hockey isn't obsessed with it. And maybe that's how they keep their product pure or whatever. But it's odd to me that it hasn't just stayed the same. It is dipped. And it is dipped across the board because I'm like, I never see a commercial or product commercial with a hockey player ever.
Yeah, shouldn't I know? David's the only one.
But shouldn't I know?
PK Subban, who is retired now.
Right. Shouldn't I know what shouldn't I be able to identify Connor McDavid in a lineup?
Yep.
If he's the star. Now, I'll tell you, there's 2 guys, the last 2 hockey players, other than guys I've seen like at Ranger games.
I know who you're going to say.
Name both of them right now.
Crosby.
Yes.
And I would have to say Ovechkin.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
No, and they are like in their
only two that make
18th
sense.
years.
Yeah.
That to me is the last time hockey was trying to be like broader. That was the end of it.
They had a great thing going with those guys because so I went to high school in a place where hockey was big.
Okay.
And I didn't really know anything about hockey until I had moved to that point because I was baseball, football, basketball. But that was when those guys were in their prime.
Mhm.
And they had this awesome thing where like Crosby was kind of the
Pussy.
Like, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Crosby
was like the fucking tough
baby
guy.
face. Yes. And Ovechkin was like
heel.
the heel. Yeah. And not that Ovechkin was an actual heel, but he was the dude that was just like, he's an unstoppable force. And like he's this Russian rocket. And then fucking
Pavel Bure.
Yeah.
Another guy from like the 90s that I can just recall.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. There's a ton of guys that are like that. But
And the thing I will say about Ovechkin, here's another, you just gave me another example. Ovechkin, if he plays like another 2 seasons,
he's going to
break Wayne Gretzky, not the points.
Oh, scoring.
Goals.
Yeah.
Which is still, Wayne Gretzky was so far ahead of everybody in everything. Now, nobody will ever catch him in points, ever.
Right.
Because if you take away his goals, his assists would make him the leading point getter of all time.
Yeah.
That's how insane he was. But just the fact that you have a modern player who's about to pass Wayne Gretzky in one of the 2 most significant records in the sport.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I know.
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
But I'm telling you, as a rabid baseball fan, I think that I think it would be the same thing now if somebody was like approaching DiMaggio's hit streak, or I don't think it would be as big of a deal. I think they're 2 sports that just don't have the juice that they did.
I think you're right on that. I disagree because I think if someone were chasing Bonds, asterisk, home run record or a hit streak, I'd be tuning in. And they've kind of lost me. I haven't watched a baseball game in a year and a half. Not
really?
one. Yeah. Because I always think, I want to watch I said I wanted to watch with the pitch clock.
Right.
And I didn't. Because I just couldn't, whereas hockey, I
didn't watch a single baseball game.
Not a single game.
Really?
You know what? You want to hear a J.L. Jinx story?
Sure.
Last baseball game I went to, first game I went to live in 3 years. I went to see them play the Houston Astros last summer. Right?
Yeah.
They got no hit for the first time in 18 years. It was a combined no hitter by the Astros. Yankees at the time had the number 1 offense in baseball. And I said, I've done my work here.
I'm out.
18 years, they haven't been no hit, number 1 offense in baseball, no hit by the Astros. Goodbye, everybody. Good seeing you. I'll be back in a decade. But hockey, it's the fact that I'm just saying they must be so content in the sport of hockey with just being the hockey world that it is, because to me, it's baffling that you don't want to grow the sport, make more money for the athletes. Like, I'm sure they're making good money, of course, but like you could grow the pie.
I bet you that the way that they grow is not, it doesn't work everywhere in America. The fact that they have a hockey team in Phoenix is weird.
Yeah.
I think that they grow it internationally. I think that they have like a Nordic division. And and you have like Sweden and Norway and all these, like you have a team in those places, and then you have a team in like France, and you have a team I'm saying that's what I think is going to, like, they're going to have an internet. All the sports want to do this.
Right.
The question is which ones have the juice to do it.
Okay.
Because the NFL, I don't even know. That's why they do all those Germany games and all that shit.
They keep testing the waters.
Yeah. They're testing Mexico and Germany to see if they can put
Mexico
stuff there,
fine, although great. I can't wait to play my August 31st game in Mexico City. We had 6 players die, 5 from heat exhaustion, and 1 had his head chopped off by a cartel.
Right. So I think that's what happens with hockey. I think hockey moves internationally.
But maybe this is just me being American centric. But what sport is like, we'll let the American market lapse. We're still the like biggest consumer market in the world, I think.
Yeah, but it's just like, it's a sport that literally you can't. It's amazing to me that they have more than 1 team in Florida. I just don't understand. Like, it doesn't work everywhere. Dude, like in Michigan and Boston and all these places where it gets cold, there are guys that go out and play on the pond. Like, it sounds fucking archaic and hillbilly-ish, but like that's kind of part of the culture around Alaska. Like, I had a friend that grew up in Alaska. The pond would get cold and they'd go skate on the pond and play. Like, you can't do that in Dallas. You know what I mean?
That's true. But I do think I don't know. It has struck me as odd that the sport is still going strong in its own way.
Yeah.
But that it's like, no, we don't need the 90s money we don't need the endorsements, but nobody needs it. But my question is, why don't you want it? Like, why don't you want the sport? Like, it's just bizarre. Never in a Subway commercial. You know what I mean? You'll see football, basketball, baseball players in Subway commercials. No hockey player.
Yeah.
You could identify the motherfucker like Connor McDavid, hockey player you should know.
Yeah, right.
You could run an ad campaign if you were smart. You could run an ad campaign about like people not knowing hockey players. Yeah. And it could be funny and educational.
Yeah.
But yes, and like you said, chicks dig hockey players.
Yeah,
like they look like rock stars who don't drink and do drugs.
Yeah.
And it baffles me, this whole thing, as just somebody with a name that identifies as a hockey player. J-L Cauvin. You know, I wish I had been raised a hockey player, just a nice defenseman where everybody says my name right.
Yep.
But too much of they would have called me a pussy. They'd be like, he doesn't like to get in fights. He's like the biggest guy on the ice.
Yeah.
He keeps winning that like gentleman award. Fuck him. What is that, like the Lady Bing award or some bullshit?
I don't know the hockey one, but yeah, like the Clemente award.
The sportsmanship award. Yeah. It's like in a sport that values violence. Yeah. It's like you win the 2000. You're a 6-time recipient of the Hockey Pussy Award. Thank you, everybody. As you can see, I have all my teeth and my original nose.
The Hockey Pussy Award is great.
Okay, well, obviously we still have to do your favorite part of the show, but that's once again, hey, food for thought.
Yeah,
right. Gay listers. That's what we call them. Gay A-listers. And hockey, who knew it? But yeah, go enjoy, comment, tell me your thoughts. If you have information, you know, you can comment on YouTube or you can leave a review and let me know there or just on social media. But you know, if I'm wrong or if I'm forgetting some things or if you have other information, always welcome to get it. You're probably wrong, but hey, I can be wrong sometimes, right, Mike?
Sure.
Rarely, very rarely. But let's take one last break and we'll come back with some comedy talk. Yay!
And now, from the Slickback Studios newsroom in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, here is Scott Pelley with a Rain on Your Parade special reports.
This is Scott Pelley on assignment from 60 Minutes for J-L Cauvin. This week's Punchdown of the Week. J-L posted a video where Donald Trump was mispronouncing the Koch brothers' name as cock. And a person on YouTube commented, it's actually pronounced Coke. JL?
Yep, that's the punchdown of the week. Somebody who and there was a chance that this person was being sarcastic. I have to be honest. But in my fan base, it's still less than 50% chance that they were being sarcastic. They might have actually, it might have been like one of my senior citizen fans actually correcting me, even though I was talking as Trump, making cock jokes. But they made sure that I knew it was pronounced Coke. So congratulations on your punchdown of the week. Now let's talk about the talk that everybody's talking about in comedy, which means Mike extra loves this. Matt Rife. Okay, which is, you know, how Asian tourists pronounce the MetLife building. He came out with a special, folks. It's called Natural Selection. It's on Netflix. By the time you hear this, you'll be like, this is old news. Yes, it is. But it wasn't old news when I was talking about him every episode of this podcast for the last several months. I have been ahead of the curve on Matt Rife from the beginning. And now I feel like the curve has gone too far almost. Now instead of being in the JL honest integrity and critical look on the world of comedy level, people have gone into the like, let's burn Matt Rife at the stake for making a mediocre special. And people are doing the Matt Rife isn't handsome. I love that. Like, you know, he's no Matt Bomer, obviously, but he is a nice looking guy. He's kind of in the Cillian Murphy realm of looks.
He looks more fake.
Right.
Matt Bomer looks like just a really insanely handsome person. But it doesn't look like plastic.
Right. Kind of the way like Jamie Presley always kind of looked like a porn star, even though she wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she just had that kind of look. And it's like, hey, if you like that look, it's a blessing. It's like, no, she's all natural.
Yeah.
And if you hate that look, it's like, well, I don't like it. But Matt Rife, he came out with a special. Now, I did the research. I did the work months ago when he was becoming a thing. I couldn't open Facebook without seeing at least 8 reels per day of Matt Rife. I would click on them and be like, less like this, less like this. The irony is if you click on it, stupid Facebook is like, I guess you'll like this. It's like, are you not seeing that I'm clicking none of the less like this every time? Right. I must have seen 100 reels of his. So there was he was thriving on the algorithm. Okay. Crowd work, good looking, just, I guess that's all you needed, and black scent. He was doing all the things that like white social media algorithms really like.
Yeah.
And he was blowing up from it. And so I said, let me watch one of his specials because I'm always open. As much as I may seem like an aggressive douchebag and critical, I am always open to liking somebody's comedy. If it's good, it's good. Like I said last week with Trevor Wallace's special, I was like, it wasn't terrible. And I meant that as a compliment because I came in thinking this guy might be terrible from just this Instagram, TikTok hero to hour-long theater show. I'm skeptical, but it wasn't bad. I think the guy, but it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. And I watched Matt Rife's second special. It was called Matthew Stephen Rife. And I watched it and it was like, he's got some good jokes. It's very telling that, he uses a pronounced black scent when talking on stage and he talks like a valley guy or a country guy when he's on like podcasts with white girls, like probably some of the ones you produce. And then I noticed his crowd was like a majority white, which is, unlike Gary Owen, a comedian that I've worked with and that I like, his crowds are like, he talks like a country dude, talks a lot about his mixed family. His audience is like 99% black. So the cosign, the authenticity leads to that cosign with ticket sales. And then I noticed that he did about 25 minutes of crowd work in an hour-long special. Okay, if that's what you're known for, great, good for you. I thought it was very mediocre, and I found some of his stylistic choices and the various things I've mentioned as not problematic in like a cancel him kind of way, but problematic in terms of like, this is the next comedy star.
Right.
So then I see Natural Selection. I go, well, I'm going to watch this. Got to watch it. And I thought it was mid, as the kids would say. It wasn't the best thing I've ever seen by any stretch. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. That would be Nick Cannon's comedy special on Showtime from like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The single worst comedy special I've ever seen in my life.
Legendary. I've even heard about how bad
I loved it. Yeah. I was posting clips on Instagram when I was watching it on Showtime. It is the woat. Like that is the undisputed worst special, but because it was so bad, I loved it.
Yeah.
There is a joy in watching stand-up that terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he lost like some gigs temporarily. Like he lost like America's Got Talent.
Because it was so bad?
Of it. No, because he was like, man, fuck NBC. Like he was just in his element. And it was like, okay.
Oh, that rocks.
It was awesome. Like it was like, hey, if you made Bring the Pain 2, I get Burning Bridges.
Yeah.
You just made the worst stand-up special I've ever seen. And you were just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You got to give it up.
Matt Rife's is not bad like that. But what I noticed watching it, he was doing the things he does. Okay. For real, girl. Okay. So I don't even know. And it was all that kind of stuff. He had some good jokes. He had some very stock jokes. Very like, did you hear, was the cool black kid in your school telling these jokes 15 years ago? Because that's what it sounds like you just ripped off. And he did about having watched Matthew Stephen Rife. He did at least 20 minutes from his YouTube special on his Netflix special. And I thought, well, nobody seems to care anymore about the rules or what matters that used to matter in art and in production and comedy. But he did 20 minutes from an old special. So his hour was really 40 new minutes. And he ended it dropping the mic going, but I can only do crowd work, right? and drop the mic.
I've heard that this is
And
really...
I was like, if this had been all original, because some of the best bits on the special, I know everybody loves being the first to go, I couldn't make it past 3 minutes. Oh, what? Were you having a fucking heart attack? Like this like, it was so bad. I turned it off after 2 minutes. Oh, I turned on the credits and the Netflix symbol came up and I said, I can't watch anymore. Do I win? Am I the most anti-Rife now? It was to brag about not doing crowd work, but to have filled in the 20 to 25 minutes that you would have usually done crowd work with old pre-recorded material. But if nobody knows, then they're going to be like, damn, my man went in on him. Man, no crowd work from my boy. Shit. It was mediocre. And what I have said to you before on this show, when we talk comedy, which I know you don't like, but he illustrates my point very similar to what I said in a different way about Ralph Barbosa, whose special was better. Let me be clear on that. But it's the idea of seeing guys who look like good features, up and coming guys, getting the kingdom. They're getting the theater for Netflix when they should be like, hey, I opened for so-and-so now and I'm crushing it. And I got like my first late night spot and I'm really doing my thing. You jump right to theater, Netflix, tour. Like as soon as you're like competent and you fit the right algorithms. But what I have to say, so I've said my rating is mediocre. I laughed at some stuff, but most of the stuff I laughed at was old stuff, But the backlash to him has become this sort of, he's punching down. He's celebrating domestic violence. Now that joke about the woman with the bruised eye is an old joke. And somebody said like he stole it from Jesselnick. Fuck that. He stole it from everybody who's ever told.
A joke book.
He stole it from a joke. Like, in other words, there's a joke. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to repeat something that teen males used to say in the fucking 90s. What do you say to a woman with 2 black eyes? Nothing. Somebody told her twice already.
Right.
Aren't we bad?
Right.
Of course, that's a mean joke. But it's the type of joke that most teen boys, I mean, I'm sorry, not the truly elevated ones who would say, I never heard that joke. We didn't tell those kind of jokes. The same people who told me that Trump saying grab him by the pussy wasn't locker room talk. I was like, well, as somebody who's been in locker rooms for many years at many levels, that is locker room talk. It's not good. I didn't engage in that talk. That is locker room talk. It's the one time you'll find me defending Trump.
Right.
Is that like he was speaking in a hypothetical, like it didn't sound like he was. And now, to be fair, Trump certainly probably has done that, literally. But just based off on the extra tape, it was like, that was locker room talk. He's a 60-year-old billionaire. Don't know why he's still talking like he's in a locker room, but it is. People who've never been in a locker room were like, that is just not talk I've heard. It's like, okay, but guess at the Y for Family Day, maybe that's not what's going on in the locker room. Anyway, Rife tells this joke. I was like, well, that's a really kind of old joke. But everybody now is like, he's celebrating domestic violence. Well, no, he's not.
Well, here's the thing, JL. It is not worth the risk. And I think that is part of the issue, where his audience is primarily female because of his plastic face. And
you live, and this is my rule, you live by the dumb algorithm chasing white chick. You die by the dumb algorithm white chick. But the thing I will say is, did you not watch his stuff? This is in keeping with the way, like, not that specific joke, but this whole idea of him being like like, did you watch his comedy? He made jokes about fucking women. Like, I know it's not domestic violence, but it's
fucking women and domestic violence are not.
I'm aware. Well, if you do it right, it is. But
look who's making the domestic violence jokes now.
No, that wasn't JL. That was me. That was Vinny the Guinea. I'm back, baby. Remember in the 80s when you used to just grab a chick by the hair and she'd say, no, no, no. And I'd go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you could do it and nobody will me to you. Remember that? Those were the days. Am I right, Mikey?
You said it, Vinny the Guinea.
No, I agree. Of
Love to hear
course.
from Vinny.
But when they start to say he's misogynist, I'm like, when you start to go with these sort of toxic male umbrella of comedy, of misogyny, sexism, yes, domestic violence is the worst of those things. Yeah. But it's not like his jokes were just like, ladies, like he wasn't doing the bass breakdown on a Boys to Men song on stage.
Yeah.
He was still making street jokes and doing like, so no, I'm not equating them, but it's not like he went from 0 to 60.
I think that the issue is though that having not seen the special, it's very odd that somebody that is so successful, because he is. I mean, with the 24 million Instagram followers or whatever the fuck he's so successful, and he just completely turned his back on the audience that kind of got him there to seemingly impress like cool comedy bros that like don't think that he's like a good comedian,
right?
Which kind of defeats the purpose of his entire career. It doesn't really matter,
right?
Like he just sold out the people that got him there, and now I understand why women would be like, "What the fuck?" Like this isn't quite what I was
also
expecting.
got the vibe though that I can't characterize them. I also felt like a lot of the women who were turning their backs on him were not people who'd bought tickets to see him or anything. Like,
no,
they were just hearing about him and knew he was the hot guy comic with lots of chicks who want to fuck him. And then they were like, oh, I can't believe Matt Rife. Like,
but here, all right. So JL, here's the thing. He isolated his comedy fans by doing comedy not well. And I guess that's poetic in a way, you know, like, and that's what I was saying where like the domestic violence, it's not like somebody that is making an effort to do some kind of art, which we've had nebulous discussions about off mic when it comes to comedy. He threw away his audience for a fucking cheap, like joke book domestic violence joke. Like, you know, I wonder if you ask him about it after the fact, if it was worth it. Like, people being offended. I'm not necessarily a person that believes that people should care much about like jokes, but if you're a comedy fan, you could look at that and just be like,
right. And my thing with my comedy 2 cents is like, I've established very well that I'm not a fan.
Right.
But I feel it necessary sometimes when I see a sort of what I consider to be maybe a certain overcorrection. I'd be a piece of shit if I didn't say, well, like, I'm not like gonna pile on and be like, yeah, and he did that too.
Right.
He literally started his show and said, I just want to see where the boundaries are. Like, he kind of acknowledged that as like, I'm just testing you. And maybe that was he's not, I don't know if he's quick enough. He does do some decent crowd work, but if he was doing that to kind of, I don't think he was doing that to cover himself. I think he really was like, I'm just testing. And it was very stock. It was very like, we've heard that before, but I felt like the thing that made me laugh was when he posted his apology and a link to helmets for special needs people. Now, we both have family members. Yes, we both have family members, I believe. You're not
kidding?
No.
Okay.
We both have family members, correct? With special needs.
My sister's got Down syndrome, yeah.
And my nephew is autistic. And I laughed at that. Because it was like, it didn't feel like he was it felt like he was baiting that. Like, I actually kind of appreciated not the ballsiness of it, but the kind of like, oh, the idea of somebody actually looking for Matt Rife's apology. Like, oh, he did. Okay. I want to see what he posted if you're looking on Instagram and clicking for his official apology for a joke, I kind of like that you open up something that's like a middle school middle finger. I kind of just in the broad context, I kind of thought I did chuckle at that, knowing that it's more infantile than it is offensive. But his special overall was like, it was mediocre. But I feel like the mob mentality, I hate it when it goes either way. I've made videos about comics at their peak when everybody's like, they're the greatest thing ever. Oh my God. And then when I see people just being like, the thing happens to Schumer. It's happened to like Dane Cook, where it's like, well, now you're just like a dude kicking somebody in a mob. Like you're joined a mob and you're like, I'm going to kick this guy in the fucking teeth too.
Right.
Like these are some of the people where it's like, these are people who've done good work or have lots of fans. And now you have your chance.
Is interesting. He went from being like the hottest thing to like everybody being like, this guy fucking sucks. We all hate him.
And
without any real like decline in the work. It's just, I think he just graded on people.
There was decline. I'm going to say this as somebody who was a fan. There was decline in the work.
Yeah.
But I watched some clips. I make Laura do all, like, Laura, you think you're annoyed with me. Laura has to live with this.
My heart goes out to Laura.
Laura, we watched some Dane Cook clips last night. And we were watching like his one from the BK Lounge where he's just,
that's classic. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't have to think everything Dane Cook did was funny. I think Dane Cook's early stuff was the product of 10 years of building up.
Yeah.
Those first 2 albums were like his first decade of work. Then they needed the content. He was like the first comic, I think, who got caught up in the content.
Right.
And the quality declined because
like the first social media comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because of MySpace.
And he did. And the thing I always respect about him is he did it himself. He didn't like MySpace algorithm. I can find. No, he was like, I'm going to invest in the internet before anybody else and just make my presence known.
Sure.
And his early stuff is really funny. If you never like any of his stuff, that's fine. I think his quality declined. But I'm not going to sit here and act like Dane Cook sucks, right? How can I say that if I liked some of his albums?
Yeah, yeah.
But people tend to just pile on. And Matt Rife, we're in this culture now where people kind of will say like it's a de facto winning argument. And I had this discussion with a lovely fan of mine on Twitter, respectfully. I did disagree with her. She made her points clear. And I don't necessarily do this kind of comedy, but I also don't tell people they can't do it just because I don't do a bunch of punch down. But I'm like, punching down has become this thing where people now use it as like, you're punching down. Mic drop.
Right.
You've punched down, not allowed.
Comedy criminal.
Right. Like like an automatic, like you fucked a woman that was 15. Doesn't matter what she said, what you did, it's a crime.
Yeah.
You have no defense. Pray for leniency. Like the punching down. I mean, sometimes punching down is funny. Like sometimes it is. And I get that you don't want people to be bullies, but sometimes it is funny. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But this notion that punching down is like, that's it.
Also, who decides who's punching up and who's punching down? Like,
right. And don't get me wrong. Of course, if I was sitting here mocking, like one of the first shows I ever went to, the feature act was doing a bit on the Special Olympics, completely punching down.
Right.
I'm laughing hysterically. Sorry. Because it was funny. And I'm accepting that when I go in here, I don't think this comic is a bad man.
Right.
Like, so when he's making these jokes, when I see Dave Chappelle do lectures on trans people, I think that's closer to his heart.
Yes.
I'm you know what I mean? Like when he's doing,
it's a funny way to put it. Yeah.
When he's doing talks and getting from the congregation, that's not raucous laughter.
Right.
If you make jokes about trans people and I'm laughing, hey, somebody might be offended, but it's also comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. And I just think this thing of punching down as being automatically bad. And I think people smell blood in the water and, maybe it's fitting. He rose from social media and algorithms and superficial kind of qualities, though I have seen some of his, I'll be honest, I've seen some of his crowd work videos that are actually quite good. But he's going to die by that as well, or at least take a major, major hit from that. And maybe that's poetic and it's some kind of weird justice. I would just prefer a comedy landscape where the best comedians rise. How about that, Mike, for a concept? Jerry Springer's final thought for the show. So guys, Mike just literally, I have to rush him to the hospital. He just slit his wrists because we talked comedy too much. So thank you for listening. Please, if you haven't, give us a nice review on iTunes or Spotify. Share it with a friend. If you've enjoyed listening to these episodes, please get a friend to listen. Say, I like this comic and his great producer. You should listen. I think you'd enjoy it. I have shows coming up in Florida in February. They're on my website now, jlcomedy.com. So if you live anywhere in Central Florida, please come out, outnumber the gun crazies. And what else? That's it. My Patreon already plugged. So I hope you have a great week. Thank you for listening. And I will see you next Thursday.